Sinister Intent is a true crime channel that showcases crimes committed by some of the worst human beings on the planet. These stories are often told in graphic detail. Viewer discretion is advised. For the most part, when two people unite under the veil of marriage, they think it's forever. But sometimes over time and various events, couples often grow apart, be it physically, mentally, or emotionally, and sometimes divorce comes up as the only option. On June 24, 2016, 42-year-old Christy Sheats called a family meeting in the living room of their Bellaire Texas home. Those in attendance were husband Jason Sheats, age 45, Taylor Sheats, age 22, who's a daughter, and Madison Sheats, also a daughter, age 17. According to Jason Sheats, the meeting was supposed to be about explaining to the daughters the divorce that was forthcoming between both Jason and Christy. But this innocent announcement would turn out to be far more sinister. Today, we talk about 42-year-old Christy Sheats from Bellaire, Texas. A woman that was going through a divorce, and in a fit of anger, rage, disappointment, she killed her two daughters just to make her husband suffer. I'm Steve, your host, and this is Sinister Intent.
A Texas mother allegedly shot her daughters to death. Police released audio of the 911 call from Madison and Taylor Sheats, who can be heard along with their father begging for their mother not to pull the trigger.
22 call 38, but right now they're advising 2 people are shot. We're still gathering information.
It's hard to understand what went on inside this Katy area home. What would provoke a mom to shoot and kill her 2 daughters?
Hello?
Fort Bend County investigators say Christy Sheats called a family meeting in the living room. Her husband Jason there too.
I promise you whatever you want.
As Christy pulled out a gun, shooting their daughters.
There's a lady with a gun.
There's a lady with a gun? Where?
Yes. It's coming out of the house right now.
Okay.
2 people shot outside.
That neighbor told dispatchers he saw Christy on top of Taylor with a gun in hand. Then he says she went back inside to reload.
Oh, she shot her again. She shot her
You
again.
shot her again?
Yes. From the back. She's trying to...
Oh no, subject that I shot has a gun in hand. Gonna have 3 people down.
What did you do? But 1 clear, 3 people down.
Guys, I want to talk about this story a certain way. I'm going to do it a different way than I normally do. We'll start it off like this. There are a lot of people out there that say, oh man, you know, such and such has the perfect marriage, or if I could find love like they found love over here, you know, I would be content for the rest of my life. The fact of the matter is, guys, there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. Everything takes work. As every new day is different than the day before, such as a marriage. You never know what obstacles you're going to come up with. You know, what ailments are going to befall you or your spouse. What tragedies, you know, are going to fall in your path that you got to climb over together. But sometimes, you know, it doesn't work out like that. This is one of those stories that on the outside looks really good, but on the inside, a lot of stuff was going on that we don't even know if it could have been preventable. After you look at this story, you might say, hey, mental illness played a heavy part in it. And you may be right. But this woman wasn't crazy. She just couldn't get out of her own head. Before I start going into the story of what happened, I want to break down each of these people that are involved in this. The husband, Jason Sheats, the wife, Christy Sheats, the daughters, Madeline Sheats, and Taylor Sheats. And I want to talk about them a little bit and let you know what kind of people they were before we tell you, you know, what transpired in the home on that day. All right, guys, I want to talk about Taylor Sheats, age 22 first. She was the oldest of the 2 daughters that Jason Sheats and Christy Sheats had, you know, and this is what was said about her. said she recently graduated with honors from Lone Star College in Cypress, Texas, in the May prior to her losing her life. Shortly after that, she became a full-time teacher at Kids Are Kids, which is a daycare center and pre-K school out there in Katy, Texas. Said Taylor Sheats was also working evenings as a nanny after her daytime shift at the daycare center, where she helped 3- and 4-year-olds in 2 different classrooms as a teacher. She also decorated the entire daycare center with her artwork and was referred to as an amazing artist. It was said that Taylor wanted to become a professional artist and diligently worked towards that goal. She was engaged to her longtime boyfriend, Juan Lugo. The couple was approaching their 5-year anniversary and were about to get married days before she was killed. 17-year-old Madison Sheats was described as always smiling and loved children, so much in fact that she had been a part-time babysitter for almost 3 years. Madison Sheats was going into her senior year at Seven Lakes High School. She was also a member of the National Honor Society and the Spanish National Honor Society. Now, as far as Jason Sheats, the husband and father, who was 45 at the time all of this occurred, it's little information about him because he keeps his life somewhat private. But what is known is he worked as a software developer, so he was the breadwinner. Primarily the income was coming from him. He was described as being a devoted family man who loved his wife and his daughters dearly and was extremely close with his children. He graduated from East Lawrence High School in Alabama and was a standout baseball player. He was from Decatur, Alabama, where he originally met Christy Sheats, his wife. According to people that knew Christy Sheats, they said she was a stable person, she was very likable, and wanted to be both a mother and a wife for as long as she could remember. She too loved her husband and loved her daughters dearly. Everything seemed to be going good for the Sheats family. That is until a series of unfortunate events began to befall Christy's side of the family in 2012. Before I go into this downward spiral that Christy Sheats had went through that caused her to shoot her daughters, let me clarify something. Let me clarify 2 things. First of all, this crime occurred in Fulshire, Texas, which is right next to Katy. Fulshire is very small compared to other parts of, like Katy and stuff. So sometimes people get them mixed up. A lot of times people say Fulshire mean Katy and vice versa because they're right next to each other. You can go right into one part without knowing that you're in that part. So I wanted to clarify that. This crime did occur in Fulshire, Texas, or Fulshire, like they say out here, not Katy. But that's the first thing I wanted to reiterate with you guys, right? The second thing is this. Jason Sheats lived in Trinity, Alabama, whereas Christy lived in Decatur, Alabama. So I wanted to clarify that too in case I didn't do it. They were 15 minutes apart, but these people knew each other and since they were young kids. So this is one of those relationships where they met when they were younger, I guess teenagers, and it flourished into something beautiful. And they got married, had kids, started building a life, and things took a drastic turn. You'll see what I mean right here. In early 2012, Christy lost her beloved grandfather, who sadly passed away, sending her into a state of depression. Her grandfather was adored by Christy, and he was very instrumental in shaping the person that she was as an adult. This was truly a devastating loss for Christy. And folks, if that wasn't bad enough, a few months after the passing of her grandfather, Christy's own mother passed away as well, thus compiling more to an already full plate of grief served to this woman in mourning. All right, folks, I want to interject real quick before we go on in this story. And regardless of what this lady did, which was an evil act, I have to be somewhat empathetic in this, and this is just me giving my commentary on this. Death hits people in different ways. Everybody mourns differently. We do. You know, I lost my grandparents, recently lost my grandfather, and it was a devastating blow to me. But a lot of us have the strength to keep going where others don't. No matter how much moral support you put around them, despair sets in and people fall deeper and deeper into their feelings to where sometimes they can't get out. And that's the thing. A lot of people suffer from depression. I myself have suffered from depression once. Luckily for me, I got out of it. Other people don't. And I just wanted to make that point, because now we're going to go into the next 4 years after the loss of both her mother and her grandfather. A lot of stuff that transpired in her falling deeper and deeper into despair until she finally snapped and did what she did. The devastating loss of her own grandfather and her own mother, who was like one of her best friends, whom she would talk to frequently about everything going on in her life, as well as someone she could confide in and tell secrets to, it prompted her to really go over the deep end into her own misery. As her depression continued to spiral out of control, she grew more and more distant from both friends and family, whom began to describe her as unrecognizable. And this had a profoundly negative effect in relations in the house with other family members. Since the events of 2012, the police were called to the home 14 times. 3 out of the 14 times were for failed suicide attempts by Christy purposely overdosing on her prescribed depression medication. As previously stated, this woman tried to make attempts to take her life 3 times. The only reason why she didn't succeed, guys, is because her husband came and stopped her each of the 3 times, which in itself would take a toll on any man that's trying to hold his family together by the fragmented threads that, you know, that are there, presently there. Make no mistake, you know, she was really going through something, and it was starting to wear thin on him. But I mean, loving somebody and dealing with them, after a while, love has limits. It does. A lot of people think love is this thing that no matter what, you can love somebody and not be around them, be with them. But I mean, at some point, everybody has a breaking point, and things become where, like, you know, enough is enough. According to Christy, she felt that Jason couldn't comprehend the constant pain of loss she was in, or the way she was mourning the loved one she lost. And that's understandable, you know, coming from a point of when people are in depression, you can't tell what they're thinking or what's making them sad. On various times, you see them in said depressive state. So it said, you know, as far as what was out there in the news and things like that, in June of 2016, he was like, enough is enough. And he spoke to her about ending the marriage. What a lot of people don't know is in 2014, you know, 2 years after her loss of her grandfather and her mother, Christy wound up getting an apartment and leaving out of the house due to the situation between her and the family members, namely her and her husband, her saying he's insensitive to her needs and not understanding, so on and so forth, like we described earlier. But she wound up living in an apartment. But the effects of the depression wasn't not just affecting her at the house. It was also affecting her at work. And we'll get back to the home in a second. But let me tell you about her job. Now, it states that Christy Sheats, in January of 2015, worked part-time when she was hired, you know, as a receptionist at a tattoo removal clinic in Houston. Clean canvas, laser tattoo removal. She was hired, like we said, in January 2015 while working part-time. She missed work and was always untruthful, according to her boss, who was interviewed after this crime. Says when Christy was first hired, she told her boss that she was going through a divorce. At some point between January and May, during her 5-month employment there, he asked her how her divorce was going, and she replied that she and her husband were not getting a divorce and that she was living alone in an apartment blocks away from the family home. She was fired in May 2015 because erratic behavior and missing work. And when they say erratic behavior, it means not being truthful. Let me explain something to you. This is what's going on, because that sounded a little bit confusing even to me. I'm going to break this down to you. 2014, I guess late or mid 2014, something must have happened in the home. He was like, hey, I can't take this no more. The kids and stuff, you know, he's trying to be a father, still want to be a husband to his wife. He got to stop her from killing herself. It's probably missing work. It's messing him up, so on and so forth. She winds up moving out the house in 2014. In January, she gets a job with this laser tattoo removal place. Now she's working there telling the guy she's getting a divorce, right? He felt pity on her, offered her the job. She was a receptionist there. As she was working there, said she would be untruthful. She would lie about certain things. Namely, a lot of times of why she didn't come in. She would miss work a lot of times, come in with crazy excuses, just due to the depression that was going through, you know, in her head. But she wound up getting fired from this job. But before she got fired from the job, the guy asked her boss, he said, hey, what's going on? You know, casually, what's going on with the divorce? Everything going through? I guess she's there a couple of months. She comes back, oh no, we're not getting a divorce. You know, I'm just staying in the apartment around the corner. We're not getting a divorce. Now, the reason why she said that was because they reconciled a little bit before this crime occurred, where he let her back in the home. He welcomed her back in the house. Now, as she was there, he brought up the point with divorce with her, and they got into a big argument. She winds up leaving the house again, because remember, she still had that apartment. She winds up booking out of there. So she's gone, and this is what the news didn't really cover. She was gone for a few days. And what made her leave is Taylor, who's 22 years old and about to get married days before, you know, the crime occurred. Her, Taylor and Christy, her mother, get into an argument. During the time, and I want you guys to listen to this. During the time of the argument, she tells, Christy, the mother tells 22-year-old Taylor, you're grounded. You're forbidden to see your fiance up until the wedding, and you got to stay in the house. Jason, the father, hears that. He comes around the corner and he says, what's going on? He overrides what Christy said. Basically, you can't ground a 22-year-old. And she's about to get married. That's cruel. You can't tell her not to see this man. She about to be a wife herself. It pissed Christy off. Christy storms out the house. She's gone for a few days. Finally, she calls everybody. Hey, I want to have a family meeting in the living room of the house. So they agree that they're going to go and meet in the living room of the house that she just stormed out of, that she recently was let back in. And Jason says, okay, no problem. Because I think he thought that she was going to talk about the divorce. Remember, the day they went back to the house and had this meeting was his birthday. They were texting back and forth and having an argument. A lot of people don't know that neither, where he told her this would be the last birthday you ruined for me, because they were exchanging words. And then she came to the house same day. He sent her that text message, and the following happened. Okay, now that Christy has everybody in the house, right? She has Madison, Taylor, and she has Jason in the house, her husband. When she's in the house with them in this family meeting, an argument ensues. She pulls out a .38 caliber revolver, 5-shot. And what's ironic about it is it's the same gun that her grandfather owned that was passed down to her. So she pulls this gun out, right? She pulls out this gun. She's waving the gun around. Jason's like, hey, what are you doing? Put the gun away. Hey, look, I'll give you anything you want. We can come to some type of peaceful agreement. Put the gun down. Please, Christy. Christy tells him she wants him to suffer. She says that to him. She commences the shooting both of her children. She shoots Madeline in the neck as they're trying to run out the house. After she shot Madison one time in the throat, Madison ran outside the house and collapsed dead on the front lawn. In commencing the shooting, she also shot 22-year-old Taylor, the daughter that she had the beef with prior to her calling this meeting a few days before. She shoots her in the back as she was running. As they're running out of the house, I want you guys to notice she had ample time to shoot Jason, but she didn't. Jason ran out and ran to the cul-de-sac. As he was running, and they all ran outside, and Madison collapsed on the ground, Taylor was shot in the back in the house. She's running towards the street. The mother comes out the house and shoots again, hitting her in the back again. She falls in the middle of the street. Mother walks up on her, according to witnesses, stands directly over her and points the gun, and it doesn't go off. She's out of bullets. She runs back in the house, given some time as police are arriving on the scene or rushing to the scene, reloads the 5-shot revolver, comes back out, and shoots Taylor dead. Right at the time police are coming, they pull up, they order her to drop the gun. She refuses, and in one single shot, they shoot her dead. Thus, having Jason witness the death of both his daughters and his wife at the same time on the man's own birthday. All right, guys, that's the story of what happened to Christy Sheats and what she did to her own children. And I don't know where Jason Sheats is now. According to what's out there, he done went back to Decatur, Alabama, or he lives in Decatur, Alabama, if you looked at his LinkedIn page. But I mean, this whole thing, man, could have been unavoidable. But then again, those of sane mind can't understand the actions of the insane. The way I sum this up is this, and this is, you know, from me being depressed before and what I went through. A person that's depressed, the worst thing they can do is be by themselves, even though they don't want to be around people that, you know, in times of them dealing with stuff that they're going through, whether it's grief, disappointment, so on and so forth. But I think she looked at this whole situation. This is just my opinion, guys. If you look at it, he was making most of the money. They was living off of his dime. She had smaller jobs because this woman didn't finish high school. I forgot to add that. She went to high school, but she didn't finish. Either way, they fell in love, built a life for themselves, had beautiful children that were doing good in school, educated, lived in a nice area. Fouché is a nice area. And they were doing well. But you can give people everything out there and they still going to have normal human feelings and emotions due to factors outside of their own control, such as the case with her being depressed that she lost her grandfather and father, which was a devastating blow to somebody so close to you. But I think when she was alone and she moved out, got in that apartment, you know, it's a different change. She's not around the normal things because they were married over 20 years. You can't just jump up and then all of a sudden, and this happens all the time with couples when they go through divorce and different stages of separation. You can't just jump up and expect everything to be normal when you go to a situation where now you're living in an apartment, you got to get up and work, you don't have another partner helping you financially, you're not enjoying the camaraderie after work of your own family, you're going through a depression, it seems like nobody's understanding you, you're starting to have problems with your children. Your older daughter can understand, your 17-year-old daughter somewhat understands, and they can't understand why you act the way you do, but you act the way you do, and it has a negative effect on them. You tried to ground a 22-year-old, hey, I'm the grown up. Mom, I'm not dealing with that. Remember, it was 4 years before all of this stuff happened. So kids don't watch what you do, what you say, they watch what you do. I think a level of respect was lost a little bit. And I think Taylor couldn't wait after she got out of college and stuff to get out the house. And I think Christy wanted to have control over like she used to, but she didn't have that same effect because respect was lost. Either way, when he picked in that argument to take the side of his daughter over his wife, she was already in a depressive state. I think that pushed her over the edge. She felt as though everybody was turning against her, and she put the blame on him as being a husband and not sticking by her as the wife that she is. And even though they was going through the divorce or was about to plan the divorce, she just couldn't let it go. So she put the blame of everything that she was going on him, and thus she killed the kids on his birthday. So every time he had a birthday, he'd think about her and the children. I think she knew she was going to go out of there. When the police came, it was she wanted to just go out with a bang, and she did in a negative way. I'm Steve. Thank you for joining me in another episode of Sinister Intent. See you next time. Thanks for watching.